Floyd Rose bridges. You either love them or you hate them. Actually, it's more like you tolerate them or you hate them. One part of setting up a Floyd Rose bridge is getting it nice and level, and I'm going to show you how to do it relatively quickly. What is up, everyone? Man Bun Metalhead here. Getting the bridge nice and level is a key part of a Floyd Rose setup. Having a level bridge is important not only because it will look better, but because dynamically it will be better for dives and pull-ups. There are multiple reasons why your bridge could no longer be level. Changing to a different string gauge or type of string, changing tuning, environmental changes, or maybe some other adjustment. I won't go into all the mechanics of a Floyd Rose, but just know that it's pretty much a balancing act between the tension from the strings and the tension from the springs. So any difference in tension on either side will throw it out of level, like changing the tuning. Increasing the pitch will increase the string tension and pull the bridge up, whereas decreasing the pitch will decrease the string tension and the springs will pull the bridge down. Since the tension on the string should be constant once it's in tune, all we need to do is adjust the tension of the springs. This is done by moving the spring claw on the back of the guitar in to add tension or out to release tension. And to do this, you turn the screws holding the claw in or out. Easy enough, right? One quick thing to mention is not all Floyd bridges are made the same. Depending on how many springs you have and how beefy they are will affect how much tension you put in or take out. So just keep that in mind. If you're doing a full setup on your guitar, I'd probably do the bridge leveling first. It's possible that after you make other adjustments like neck bow or string height, you might have to make some minor adjustments to the bridge level. Alright, let's get started. For me, the easiest starting point will be with too much spring tension, so if your guitar is in tune, the bridge should be low. If your bridge is too high, it won't be a problem to get it low, so let's start there. I already know that the bridge on this guitar is too high, so the first thing I'm going to do is detune the strings. You'll need to unlock those locking nuts if you haven't already. Once I've detuned it enough so the bridge is sitting low, we're going to prop up the bridge to level it out. I like to use a AAA or AA battery wrapped in electrical tape. You can always add a little more tape to help it sit higher. In some of my other Floyd Rose videos, I tell you guys it doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but in this case, you really want it as close as flat as possible. When you put the battery in there, make sure it's stuck under the bent pieces of the fine tuner so it doesn't get launched into your bridge cavity. And you can see here, my bridge is pretty close to being level with the top of the guitar. Now I'm going to flip the guitar over and turn in the screws on the claw to add tension. One important thing to note is you want to make sure your claw is parallel to the face of the guitar cavity. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want a claw that's really wonky. It might make adjusting the tension tougher. When you adjust the screws, make sure you turn them in or out the same amount. To make this easier, I like to have the screw heads pointing the same direction. Here, since I know my bridge is high and I want to go low, I need to add spring tension, so I'll give them each one whole turn in. I'm not sure if this will be enough. Actually, it won't be, but that's okay. Now that we've added some spring tension, we'll turn the guitar back over and start tuning up. Ideally, you want to have enough extra tension from the springs so your bridge will not lift up once it's in tune. I know I didn't add enough tension in the springs, so you'll see my bridge lift up a little. Now I haven't got my strings all the way in tune, but you can see that the bridge is starting to lift up a little bit. I'm not going to bother tuning it up perfectly because it's already relying on the springs and I don't want it to do this. It's no big deal. I'll just detune the strings again, flip the guitar over and add some more spring tension by turning in those screws. This time it should be enough. Turn it back over and tune the guitar back up. Now the guitar is in tune and the bridge is sitting on that battery still. If we lift up the bridge, take the battery out and let it back down, the bridge wants to go low. I would not advise you do this because if you have too much spring tension, the springs could break. Instead of doing that, we're going to start letting out the spring tension. Ideally, we want to let out the perfect amount of tension so that when we take out the battery, the bridge sits at the same level and the guitar is perfectly in tune. Unless you're lucky, that probably won't happen, but we can still try. What I'm going to do is start by turning the screws out 1/4 turn and seeing where we are, and I do 1/4 turn at a time until the battery seems to be a little loose, then take it out. So I was able to get my battery out, and I am a little sharp on the string still, but I'm also a little high up on the bridge. And that is actually because I think my battery was still just pushing up the bridge a little bit, so it was a little high. And it's really hard to see that it's even high at all. It's almost level, but if my plan went right, what I would do is let out the springs a little bit more until the strings are in tune, and then I would have a perfectly level bridge or where I had set it at. So we're going to go ahead and try to do that. I'm just going to start letting the springs out, and it's going to raise my bridge up just a little bit, but it's also going to detune my strings or flatten them so that they are in tune because they are a little sharp right now. So ideally, you'd be one of other two ways. You want your strings to be sharp and your bridge to be low. If that was the case, then you'd let out spring tension, your bridge would raise up, and your strings would flatten out, and you'd be set. In the other scenario, your strings are flat and your bridge is a little high. At that point, you add some string tension, turn them in, and it'll bring the bridge down, and it will increase the pitch of the strings so they get in tune. We're going to pretend that my bridge is just a little low because my strings are sharp. So we're going to take out a little bit of spring tension and see if we can get our strings in tune. Here I'm going to go between 1/4 and 1/8 of a turn at a time. So I'm going to start with 1/4, and then I'll start to get really small turns in like 1/16 or lower than that. All right, so I've let out enough that my strings are really close. Unfortunately, they're not all flat or all sharp. I think my lowest string is pretty much in tune and the rest of them are a little out. But you can see that we're pretty close to level. It is actually sitting proud just a touch, just barely anything. Really, I could be happy with that, but we'll do a little bit of fine tuning here. So I'm gonna go ahead and tune out the guitar and see where we're sitting and do some adjustments from there. All right, so we are pretty dang close to in tune and we're sitting just a little proud. We're gonna make a little adjustment because the strings are in tune and the bridge is high. We need to add some spring tension. To do that, I'll flip it over and turn in the screws a little bit and then tune the guitar. And I'll probably do about 1/8 of a turn, I think, this time. All right, so I did one round of fine adjustment there. Turn the screws in about 1/8 of a turn and tune back up. And we are looking really, really close to level here. And I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm just gonna keep it as is. I could do a little bit more fine tuning, but it's fine for me. This last bit of fine tuning might seem tedious, but if you followed my instructions from the beginning, it should make it quite a bit easier. Well, there you go. Everything you need to know to get your bridge level on your Floyd Rose. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, hit the like button down there below. It really helps me out a lot. And if you want to see more of my videos on gear reviews, tips, and techniques, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified whenever I release a new video. But hey, until next time, rock on.